is lesson 4, where we're going to use this 3-2 pattern to cleverly navigate over the entire fretboard. Now, before we get into the lesson where we try and put it all together and show you how to navigate between all of these different 3-2 patterns, make sure you go back and look at the previous lessons that explain the whole concept of this 3-2 pattern. Otherwise, you'll be a bit lost. So this is I've called it the Great 3-2-3-2 Map. So what I'm going to do is sort of work you through it, and then I'll show you some examples of how you can use it. So, as we've talked about before, the 3 notes, if you're looking in the major scale or the major pentatonic scale, the green part are always root 2 and 3. The 2 notes, or the purple part, are always the 5th and 6th. And what's useful to realize, and if you look at this sort of mapping, if you will, all of the purple 2 notes, always below and to the left of these 2 notes is the 3 note part, the root 2, 3. And also, if you go above this 2 note section, there's always a green root 2, 3 above and to the right of the 2 notes. So that's a simple way to look to see how you navigate through all this entire 3-2 pattern. There's also a couple of other visual things that are kind of interesting to see. You can see that if you are on the 2 part, the 5th and 6th, there's always 2 notes above and 2 notes below, wherever you are with this. Now it changes a little bit when you get to the second string, or the B string. And so if you find yourself in this 2-note pattern, you can always go 2 up and always 2 down. They're always there. And as I was mentioning, is that this pattern works great here. You go 2, 3, 2, 3. It's a stepwise process. The only place where it is a little bit different is because of the tuning of the second string, or the B string. Instead of going directly down to this and go over it, you have to shift to the right 1 note. And then you get to it. And then when you get from the second string to the first string, it goes back to exactly the way it was before. And as you're navigating through this whole process, you will often be going down in this sort of direction. And when you get to this sort of last root 2, 3, or the green part, you can easily navigate up to either another green box by just going diagonally, or by going diagonally 2, and you get back to this part of the purple box. And again, I'll show you that in the example as we go through. So if you're using this sort of approach, you often when you're soloing, you want to be able to bend notes. And a really cool thing to remember about this process is that there are 2 notes that are generally really great to bend, and they're always in the same spot. They're either in the middle of the green box, so not the root or the 3rd, it's the 2nd, or it's the 5th. And so those 2 notes are always great to bend. You can bend some of the other ones, but these are always really good to bend. And then, as we talked about before, when you look at the rest of the part of the major scale, so not just the pentatonic scale, but the major scale, the other 2 notes that are not in the pentatonic scale are the 4th and the 7th. And if you remember in the previous lessons, the 4th is always just right to the right of this green box, or this 3-note section, and the 7th is always just to the left of this 3-note section. And you can play these notes usually because they're very easy to slide in and out of them, because they're part of the major scale. And this note in particular gives a very nice 4-chord feel. And this note here, the 7th, gives a very nice 5-chord feel. And of course, the blues note is always there for you to use. And then if you've learned anything to do with sort of the classic pentatonic scales and the positions and all that sort of stuff, the starting point of position 1 is always right between a purple and a green box, or the 3 and the 2 on the first string. So what I've tried to do is give you all of the sort of visual tips that explains this 3-2-3-2 map, and showing you where the purple and the green and the 3s and the 2s and the blues notes and the major scale notes and which notes to bend and so on. But now let me just show you using some examples of how this could work. So let's go over this great 3-2-3-2 map that I talked about. And it all, again, is based on the fact that we have this pattern, this 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. So this 3-2 repeating pattern. So these green boxes are always a 1, 2, 3. They could be here, or here, or here. And the 5, 6, there's a 5, 6 here. There's a 5, 6 here. And then there's a 5, 6 right below the 1, 2, 3 that's here. There's a 5, 6 there. And as you can see in this repeating pattern, you've got 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, and then drop down to another 1, 2, 3. And then, guess what? You got another 5, 6. So it's constantly that repeating sort of process. So as it says on the great map, anytime you can find a 5, 6, so here's a 1, a 5, 6, there's always a 3 below it and to the right, or above it. It's a really simple process, and it works its way all the way over the neck. And then the only shift is when you get into this second note, or the second string, the B string. So instead of going to this note here, you go, and then you got another 2. So it's a really simple progression. So it's 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. And you can play that wherever you want to on the neck. And it just depends where you start with your root. Now, if you wanted to start with your root here, this is a C. So it's again a very simple process, that 3. 5, 6, 1, 2, 3. And instead of going to this note here, because of that strange tuning, you go, and then the 3. And so that's how you can go up and down and around the fretboard. And it's really a simple process. So I'll just show you one more time. 1. And there's some cool things that you can see. So if you find a 5, 6, which is obviously there's going to be a 5, 6 here. So no matter where you find a 5, 6, there's always 2 notes below it. They're in the pentatonic scale, and also above it. So if you've got this purple, there's 2 here, always 2 there. So if you go 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 5, 6, so there's always 2 notes above, and there's 2 notes below. Except in this case, you got to shift it just 1 because of that string. And those 6 notes are all the pentatonic notes that you need, including 1 extra. So that's again another tip for as you're maneuvering around this 3-2 map. Now it's also useful to remember is that there are 2 main notes. You can bend a lot of notes, but there's 2 really good ones that you can bend. So it's the ones that you can bend are always the second in the green. So now typically we don't necessarily bend notes up here all that much, but you can. But down here, we know this second note is a good note to bend, as well as the 5th. So that's a good note to bend as well. So that's a good bend, and then that's a good note. So no matter where you find them. So if you find them here, you know that's going to be a good bend note. So you go up here, and you know that this note is going to be a good bend note. Another cool part about this 3-2 map is if you have a 3 pattern, you know to add the 2 notes to make it a major scale. You either add this note, which is the 4th, or you add this note, which is the 7th. And the neat thing about that is whenever you find these three notes together, these notes, because they're in the scale, they're really good to slide in and out of. So if you're ever on a 3-part, you know you can slide into here and back, or here, because they're all part of the major scale. And then you've got the blues note. So the blues note is here. It's always in between the 2 and the 3. So obviously this map is laid out right now for the C scale. And so if you start with a C, you can work your way through that. So you can start this on any note. If you want to start it in a G, and you know that if you're here in a 2, so this is a 3. This is a nice note to bend right here. And you know on either side of this are the other notes for the major scale, or here. So 1, 2, good note to bend. 3, good note to slide into. Another good note to bend right there, the 5th and the 6th. And so the pentatonic scale is always right here, right by the C. So this 1/4 gap, if you will, is always where the classic pentatonic scale position 1 is. So you can always find it if you know where the C is and the A is. So that's basically all the things that you can get out of this great 3-2-3-2 map. You can navigate all the way over using that position, that 3-2 pattern. And you'll know because the 3 is always the root. And then 5-6. And you know if you've got your root here, the rest of the major scale is here and here. Now obviously that's for the major scale, and the minor scale is a very, very similar map. In fact, you can see that the green boxes and the purple boxes are all the same. But the actual notes, if you will, are different because you're playing in a minor key. But it's still exactly the same process. And so if you're playing in in a minor scale, you start off with the A, where your root is, and you know as soon as you go up from here, you know you can immediately drop down to a green, and then it's exactly the same process. Then a 3. So it's that simple. It just depends what note you start. At least in this case where we're looking at a scale that's C and also its relative minor, A minor. So in this case, all you have to do is start with a root, which is on your A, and then you just need to find the first 3, and it's right there. Now, if you're playing in any other key, you would just start here. So this is just a very simple way to show you how to start from any note and play either the major or the minor pentatonic. And it goes back to that map that I talked about earlier. So you can choose any note. If you want to play C major pentatonic, obviously you would start with C. And go all the way up and down. You can start with a G if you wish. So if you want to play a major pentatonic, you start with your root, and your root is always the first part of that. 3, then 2, and so on. Now, if you wanted to play a minor pentatonic, so if you're playing in a minor pentatonic, if you want to play a minor pentatonic scale, you can, in this case, if it's an A, you would start on an A. And you know the green box is right below there. Then the 2 purple, then another 3, then another purple, or 2, and then and you can play a minor pentatonic scale for any note you want. You just have to start here and go. And you can work your way down. So you can start the major scale from anywhere. You can start off with a C, and you know you got to get the fourth into it. So you can either slide up, or you can easily do this too. Do another 3. And you know the next 2 is going to be here, but you need to add in this one extra note. Or so this is just an example of how I use the 3-2 in a song that's in the key of A. So you just start right on an A, and you know there's going to be a 3. You know this is a 1, a 2, and a 3. And you can go down to a 5, 6, and 2's right there. And down to the next 3. Gotta be a 2 there because you just came from a 3. So you know there's gotta be another 3 here. You know this 2's gotta be a 5, 6. Then up to a 3. 1, 2, 3. And you can try some of the other notes to make up major scale. So you know with this 1, 2, 3, this note has to be good right here. So you just go. There's a 2 here. There's got to be a 3 here. Got to be a 2 here. Go a bit higher, Ken. I'm not trying anything fancy here, just trying to show you how you get from all the different 3s and 2s, and then throwing in the occasional note from the major scale. So that's the end of the 4th lesson, and hopefully you found it useful to sort of really get you to start to grasp the usefulness of this 3-2 pattern and navigating over the fretboard. And in the next lesson, lesson 5, we're going to use all of this information, this 3-2 pattern, to help you within 10 seconds to be able to figure out the key of any song that's playing. It's a really cool approach, I think, to helping you sort of go that next step if you're trying to figure out how to solo. So I sure hope you join me for that lesson. I think you'll have a lot of fun with it, and it'll really help you open up your sort of thought process on soloing. Thanks for listening.